What happens when curiosity becomes truth? When the boundaries you thought were solid start to blur? Four people, one night, and a storm that changed everything. Disclaimer: this story explores mature emotions and themes meant for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The evening had a quiet kind of magic to it, soft golden light from a table lamp, gentle music humming in the background, and laughter that seemed to touch something deeper. The two couples sat around the living room, relaxed from warm tea and comfort, but mostly from curiosity. None of them said out loud. Tyler's hand rested on my leg, steady and familiar, though his eyes kept drifting, watching, noticing, waiting. When their friend leaned forward to refill my cup, his hand brushed mine in a slow, thoughtful way. It was small, nothing dramatic, but the soft, lingering touch sent the flutters through my chest. I met his eyes, and for a moment, everything else faded. The room dimmed around us. Tyler's laugh, her voice, even the clinking of cups, they all disappeared behind the rush of my heartbeat. He held my gaze without looking away. It felt like he was quietly asking me if I felt it too. My breath caught as Tyler's thumb drew calm circles on my knee, as if reminding me he was still there, still watching. The air between the four of us grew thicker, too full for casual words, too full to ignore. Someone made a playful comment, something ordinary, something harmless. But no one really laughed. Instead, their friend's smile deepened, slow and knowing, like he'd stepped into a moment none of us wanted to admit was real. When I tried to look away, Tyler's hand rose slightly, guiding me back into the moment. He whispered, "It's all right. I want to understand you, really understand you." I didn't know what he meant, not fully, not until their friend leaned closer, his voice low and warm near my ear. Maybe he should. The words weren't loud, but they carried enough gentle heat to make my breath stutter. The air pulsed with unspoken questions and trembling boundaries. My fingers shook around the glass. Tyler's eyes met hers across the room, and in that heavy electric quiet, I knew something inside all of us was shifting. Before I could breathe again, their friend's hand brushed the back of my neck, light as air, like a quiet promise. And in that single heartbeat, Tyler whispered, "Let yourself feel it." The glass slipped from my hands, the music faded, and everything changed. They say every relationship has a rhythm, a pattern you learn. One you follow, one that fades if you stop listening. For us, that silence had been growing for months. We weren't unhappy. We were simply quiet inside ourselves. But she laughed in a way that filled every corner of a room, and he carried a presence that made simple moments feel meaningful. Somewhere in that light, Tyler found something he'd been missing, and so did I. It all started gently. Shared dinners, game nights, inside jokes that stretched past midnight. Tyler and their friend bonded quickly over old stories and long conversations. She and I shared glances that stayed just slightly too long, as if we were both wondering the same thing. How long could curiosity stay quiet before it became truth? Then came that night, the one that changed everything. It wasn't planned, not out loud. Tyler had mentioned ideas before, half joking. The kind you laugh about until you realize you aren't really laughing. "What if," he said once, "we stopped pretending not to wonder?" I never answered. I didn't know how, but the idea stayed between us like a gentle secret. So when their friend's hand brushed mine and Tyler didn't pull away, something inside me shifted. Not guilt, not fear, just a strange, brave permission born from trust and longing in the same breath. Their friend had a quiet confidence, not bold, just aware. Every time he spoke, it felt intentional, as though he was reading the room, and maybe reading me a little too well. Tyler watched from the other side of the couch, not with anger, but with a deep, searching expression that made my pulse race. Maybe this was what he wanted to see me come alive again. Maybe I needed that too. The room hummed with all the things we weren't saying. Her hand rested on Tyler's arm as she laughed at something he said. He looked at her like he was remembering something he'd forgotten. And I sat between two men, one who knew every part of me, and one who seemed to understand what I was feeling without a word. We smiled, pretending it was an ordinary night. But it wasn't. Something had already begun. Quiet, risky, strangely beautiful. The air grew heavier, as if even the walls held their breath. Every movement felt weighted. A brush of fingers on a glass, a shift on the couch, a glance held 1 second too long. Not a word was spoken, but every look felt like a question, and every silence felt like an answer. Their friend leaned back calmly, eyes tracing the outline of my face with warm curiosity. Tyler noticed, of course he did, but instead of stopping it, he let it unfold. His hand rested on my leg again, steady, firmer, a quiet claim. It should have soothed me, but instead it made my heart race. Across from us, she laughed again, but there was a tremor in her voice. Her hand lingered on Tyler's shoulder, fingers curling gently as if testing how far the moment could stretch. Tyler turned toward her, and for the first time, I saw it. That spark, that honest curiosity they'd both hidden behind polite smiles. And suddenly, jealousy and longing twisted inside me. Not painful, just intense, almost freeing. It felt like discovering a version of myself I'd never met, one who wanted to feel alive again. Their friend leaned in closer. "You look far away," he murmured. "Maybe I am," I whispered before I could stop myself. Tyler's gaze snapped toward me, sharp, unreadable. But instead of pulling back, he leaned into her, whispering something that made her blush. The room vibrated with quiet chaos, longing, confusion, vulnerability. The lines between us blurred until loyalty and temptation felt like a single tangled thread. We weren't saying what we wanted, but our hearts were already confessing. And one truth became clear. This night wasn't going to end the way it began. The rain started after midnight, a soft rhythm filling the space between us. The others said they were tired and went upstairs, but we both knew it wasn't sleep calling them. It was everything unsaid. I stayed behind, pretending to gather cups while their friend lingered near the window, hands in his pockets, eyes warm under the amber light. "Strange night," he said softly. "Yeah," I breathed, not looking at him. "Feels like it's still happening. Whatever it is," he added, turning slowly toward me. My fingers tightened around a cup to hide their trembling. The space between us was small, but the silence was enormous. I could feel his presence before he even moved. He lifted a hand, not to touch, but to gently move a strand of hair from my face. Soft, careful, almost reverent. The simple gesture sent a shiver through me. "You don't have to pretend," he said quietly. "Not with me." "I'm not pretending," I whispered, though the words shook. He smiled, slow, knowing. "Then why do you look like you're ready to run?" Thunder rolled outside. I flinched. He gently caught my wrist in reflex, holding it just long enough for our eyes to meet. The warmth of his touch felt like a spark in the quiet. I forgot how to breathe. Footsteps sounded in the hallway. Tyler's voice called my name, but neither of us moved. "Do you want me to step back?" he asked gently. I should have said yes. I should have stepped away, but my heart was caught between fear and something tender, something dangerously close to truth. Before I could answer, something dangerously close to truth. The footsteps reached the door. It opened slowly. Everything froze. Tyler stood there, half in shadow, unreadable. For a moment, no one moved. The air felt like glass. Their friend stepped back slightly. "I wasn't trying to cross a line," he said steadily. Tyler tilted his head. "You already did." For a heartbeat, I thought he was angry. But then a small, almost broken smile formed. "Maybe that's what I wanted." Their friend looked between us. "You sure?" "I thought I was," Tyler whispered, "until I saw her face. Until I realized she's been longing for something I stopped giving." His words hit me like a quiet truth. "It isn't like that," I whispered. "It is," he said softly. "You looked at him tonight in a way you haven't looked at me in months." The honesty settled heavily in the room. Their friend stepped farther back. "You wanted to watch," he said carefully. "You said that?" Tyler nodded. "I did, but I didn't expect to feel all this." Before any of us could speak again, she appeared in the doorway, wrapped in a robe, eyes soft but clear. "Maybe we all needed to face this," she said, "to see how far we drifted. How much we've been pretending." Lightning flashed, lighting every secret we had tried to avoid. Tyler looked at her husband, then at me. "If we keep pretending after tonight, we'll lose everything." "So what now?" I whispered. He stepped beside me, not to stop me, not to claim me, but simply to stand with me. "Now," he said gently, "we stop hiding." The storm outside cracked open the night as she reached for her partner's hand. Silence filled the room, the kind before something important changes forever. The storm quieted, but inside, everything still felt like distant thunder. No one spoke. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was reflective. The kind that follows truth spoken too late. Tyler finally broke it. "I thought seeing you drawn to someone else would make me feel strong," he said softly. "But it only showed me how long I ignored what you've been needing. You didn't need permission. You needed presence. And you think this was about attention?" I asked quietly. "You're the one who opened that door just to see what would happen." Their friend sighed. "We were all pretending curiosity was harmless, but it wasn't. It wasn't. It meant something. It always did." She stepped closer, voice warm and steady. "Maybe this is what it takes to see the truth when we've been avoiding it." Tyler's expression softened. No anger left, just honesty. He reached for my hand gently. "I don't want to lose you," he said. "Not to silence, not to fear." I felt tears rise, but I didn't pull away. Their friend turned to her. "We crossed lines," he said gently. "But maybe that's how we learn where they really are." She rested her head on his shoulder. "Maybe it's time we stop pretending we're perfect." The four of us stood quietly, realizing the same truth. Love is messy. Desire is complicated. But honesty finally felt like healing. Tyler squeezed my hand, and for the first time in months, I saw warmth in his eyes again. As the storm faded to a soft drizzle, he whispered, "Let's start fresh. Just you and me." I nodded. Because even after everything, that still felt like hope. The next morning felt like another world. The air was fresh after the storm, the house calm and still. Tyler sat by the window, coffee in hand, watching soft light filter through the curtains. For a moment, I just watched him. The person I loved, the person I almost lost to silence. When he saw me, he smiled. Small, tired, honest. "Didn't mean to wake you," he said quietly. "I don't think either of us slept," I admitted. He laughed softly. "No persclate, too much on our minds. We both made mistakes," I said, "but last night showed me something real." He turned toward me. That spark between us didn't die, it just got covered by everything we stopped saying. Tears pricked my eyes, not from sadness, but relief. "Then maybe it's time we say the things we were scared to," I whispered. He took my hand, not as an apology, but as a promise. "I don't want to share you," he said gently, "not from jealousy, but because I finally remember how much I need you close." I rested my head against him, listening to the steady beat of his heart. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. It was us. Outside, morning light stretched across the sky. Downstairs, the other couple prepared to leave quietly. When their friend met my eyes, there was no tension, just understanding. We'd all learned something about love, how fragile it can be, how strong it becomes when truth is finally spoken. Tyler wrapped his arm around me. "Let's go somewhere," he said. "No plans, no distractions. Just us," I whispered. He kissed the top of my head. Gentle, grounding, full of everything that didn't need words. As sunlight filled the room, I realized something simple and powerful. Love doesn't always break when tested. Sometimes it deepens, becoming something steadier, softer, and more human.